Hello, this is Solar PVTV from India, from New Delhi. In our thought leaders panel discussion, what will be the role of India in the global solar and cleantech revolution? So let me introduce just very shortly speakers. So we have together with us Pranav Metha, who is chairman. Actually, he has three heads. On one hand, he's chairman of the Indian Solar Industry Federation. He's also co-chairman of the Global Solar Council and also vice chairman of the Asian Association.
Asia Photovoltaic Industry.
Exactly. We have together with us William Sheng, who is in charge of sales and marketing, senior person, one of the most senior person at Talesun Solar. And Talesun is one of the largest suppliers to the global markets of solar modules. And in India, I think you have quite leading position, but let's speak later. We have with us also Hans-Josef, man who needs no introduction. And actually, you guys all have your job thanks to this man, because he introduced renewable energy law in 2001 in Germany, and he's one of the pioneers. And I'm so happy that he joined us here.
You must also remember Dr. Hermann Scheer.
Yes, working with Dr. Yes, yes.
Whom I have known quite well.
Yes. We have together with us also Justin Wu, a very interesting person who is in charge of market research, who has great overview of all the markets in Asian region, and he's working for Bloomberg New Energy Finance. And we have also Chris Voet, he's in charge of sales for LTI ReEnergy, the company which is very active in a lot of emerging markets. So guys, very shortly, I would like to ask you the question. Do you believe that India will be playing a major role in the global solar and cleantech revolution? Let's start maybe with the father of renewable energy law, with Hans.
India must play a great role, and India will play a great role for clean technology by the whole solar, wind, renewables, bioenergy and others. It is very necessary because India is highly populated, a subcontinent with great areas. Without India, the world couldn't achieve climate protection, though this is important that India will follow. And I see a wonderful program, Solar Alliance, with 175 gigawatt renewable energies by 2022, a great program. It is necessary to support it, and I feel that even India has a chance to overfulfill this program. Because we have disruptive situation in the world, this means that more and more the finance industry sees, banks, funds, private and constitutionally assets and others, they see that the investment into fossil energy and nuclear energy will become stranded investment. And therefore flows more and more money to renewable energies and other clean technology. And this is a new situation in the world. 15 years ago in the German parliament, we discussed how to get renewables to become a cheap energy solution. The most advisor of us from energy sector told us, never will become solar industry a cheap option. 15 years later, it is. It is now, together with wind, the cheapest option in energy investment in the world. And this is a new disruptive situation. This is a chance for the planet to come to a zero-emission world. We need this. And when we combine this zero-emission technology world with carbon sinks, and there plays India a great role. Take photovoltaics, high up standard in agro photovoltaics to your rural areas in farmland. Save the water with the shadowing of the photovoltaics. You have more yields, you have more crops, you can produce biofuels. This is a combination, so take it together. This is a chance for the world to come to global cooling instead of global warming.
Bloomberg New Energy Finance, this is the brand which needs no introduction. You are very well oriented about the markets. And I'm following also, your market research of the energy mix. And I would like to ask you, what role of India do you see in this global revolution from the point of view of Bloomberg?
Sure. Well, I definitely agree with Mr. Fell's comments. We certainly, I would say all eyes are now on India. About last week, U.S. and China now ratified the Paris Agreement. We now know the number one, the number two largest emitters of carbon dioxide in the world are making concrete steps forward towards reducing their emissions. We know that the U.S. and China are the two largest investors in clean energy globally. However, now the eyes are on India because India is obviously a very large country, a very large economy. It is the fastest growing major economy in the world. Power consumption in China is virtually flat now, despite the new investment into solar and wind and other renewable energies. But power consumption in India is still increasing, and there's still 300, 400 million people without electricity in this country. So therefore, there is a major question about how would India power the remaining 300, 400 million people, but also how would India achieve industrialization, economic growth in the same way that China and other countries now have done. And they have done that through building a lot of coal-fired power plants and a lot of conventional energy. So the question is, will India also follow the same route? Or will it sort of now at a special moment in history actually pursue a very ambitious renewable energy policy? Because thanks to Germany and thanks to many countries now that have invested in renewable energy over the last 2 decades, we have wind and solar and other renewable technologies much more cost effective than they have been at any point in history. So there is definitely an interesting situation now, a choice and a moment in history where India could actually be the next country to really scale up investment in clean energy.
So maybe now I would like to ask Pranav, because Pranav is already like one of the leaders. Yeah? He became co-chairman of the Global Solar Council. So already I think that you placed India amongst the biggest countries.
It is beyond any reasonable doubt that India will play a major role in the world in the field of renewable energy and solar energy particularly, given the fact that India, which was nowhere in reckoning just a few years ago, is today in the top 10 and is moving to top 5.
You showed me this graph, yeah?
As we see, yes, in the escalating graph that we can see. So this is point number 1 I would like to highlight. Point number 2, that when all the solar industry of the world at Paris during the COP21 decided to form this Global Solar Council, India was given the place as co-chairman along with China, which itself is a sign that the world is taking notice. That's why you are sitting together, yes? Yeah, yes. And I am always saying that it is not a recognition of an individual, it is the recognition of the country. The country is doing well in the field. Further, that India has committed in the intended nationally determined goals to go for 30% of renewable energy by 2030. And also when we talk of 2030, we have those SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So out of 17, where renewable and sustainable energy stands at 7, but we in India believe that we should not have that goal in isolation. It has a lot of ramifications around water, amongst livelihoods, and I have 2 pet sentences. Number 1 is that solar energy has a large potential for poverty alleviation. And this is not only true for India, but also for the rest of the world, especially African countries, Ethiopia and others whom we mentioned this morning. So having learnt, the learning curve from high tariffs to now low tariffs, possibly India can also teach some of these countries where there is no solar presently or hardly negligible. So one is on the INDCs, that I will say, intended nationally determined goals, and also on SDGs, the kind of commitment that is there. Now, for going ahead, I would say that the single most factor, if I have to point out, it is that we should have affordable finance. because that is the most important. Why in India we pay a very high interest. So somehow that there should be some interest subvention which can come from our own National Clean Energy Fund and also can come from the Global Climate Fund. Equally important is technology. Finance and technology both are very important. So how long can we go ahead with this 20% efficiency of solar cells? I am connected with space industry where we are already using 40%. All these spacecrafts, they go on for years together. They have a very high efficiency. So we have to bring it from space to the earth so that we can all use it. And that is where India will have a role to play and all of us together play a role.
And what about your friend who is sitting close to you from China?
Yes.
So you are mentioning that China,
Yes.
India, they are working together. Do you think that the Chinese industry can play an important role in bringing India also, to one of the leading players in the clean tech and solar energy?
I think it's happening, and market is crazy, and the price is dropping. Okay, lot of the suppliers, they are just advancing their technology. For example, people now is talking about the black silicon and the cutting wafer efficiency. So, just a minute ago, one of very big investor in India asked me, "Can you offer price 0.3x?" I don't see this number. Okay, this number is unbelievably low. People said all your Chinese supply will lose money because of this price, but actually not. I tell him in the Q4 we still can keep at least 15% gross margin in my finance book because we have new technology in the cutting wafer and use the black silicon. Okay, so this is in the material side, not including the technology. I mean efficiency. If cell efficiency is still going up, for example, 20%, and your wafer cost still another 50% drop, what will be the price of module? And what will be the price of the system? This is the amazing moment we have to see. Okay, at this moment, we already heard the tendering in the Chile and in the Abu Dhabi and Dubai, $3 to win this project.
But do you think it's sustainable or?
Depends on your money cost. If your financing cost is a very cheap cost, of course, it's visible. If you use the money from for example, from Germany or from the Japan, for example, of course, it's visible. So now it's 3 cents. So maybe 1 year later, who knows what will happen? Maybe 1.5 or 1.8 cents to win a big project. So I think solar will have trigger this traditional energy business in another situation.
And do you believe also that India will be like one of the key players in the market,
Of course,
in the global market?
They have consumption, no doubts about this. Only issue is the technology of the grid. Okay, it's the same question of China. Why in the north and west of China so many power cannot be transferred to the east side? Because they are currently technology. They have to waste the 20% in this transaction. Okay, so this is another reason why these rooftop projects now are becoming more popular everywhere, because they can be consumption immediately by the local network. Okay, so of course, India is the key market in the future. Next 5 years or 10 years, is here. So that is the reason we are here.
What about Chris? Because you were not planning actually to come to India, but when we discussed about this setup and also saw a lot of important people coming to the country, you said, no, I have to be there. So what is your opinion, especially that you are traveling the world and you see also the development in different countries?
I mean, LTI is already several years here, not like that, but mainly in wind energy. Besides, one of our main customers is the company Suslon, who is exhibiting here as well. So, and as you know, it's renewable energy, is not only PV, renewable energy itself. So if you see, for example, that they are doubling every year, 50% next year probably. So we're talking about 3 gigawatts next year of installing wind energy only in this country. It's equal to PV. Yeah, so we have PV and wind energy. Probably we'll have some storage will come up as well. So smart energy conversion. So all those mix of renewable energy, this shows me that it's a mature market. They know exactly what they're doing. The prices are low, but this gives us, of course, a challenge as an industrial company to rethink about our processes. What do we have to do? Supply chain, also technology. So, of course, there are low prices. But on the other hand, we are forced to do something that we are more productive.
And to be more creative.
Exactly. And this is what we're taking, of course, into other countries as well. So actually we're learning a little bit from the Indian market, so how to do it, because everybody's doing it, so we have to do it, so we have to take a look at it, and then we take the opportunity and transfer it definitely also to other markets. So, and this will give us, not only in India, but in the complete market, the global market, real maturity, which 20 years ago it was not like that. So everybody was artificial feed-in tariff, very high, and everybody was earning a lot of money, but now it became more mature, and everybody now has more the value of the energy. They know exactly what it means. And it's clean energy, so it was sustainable for 20 or 30 years, definitely.
What is the forecast for the solar market of Bloomberg?
I'll say one thing about our solar forecast is that every year it tends to surprise us in the sense that the world actually builds more than what we forecast. If you look at forecasts of solar energy just from a few years back, it's quite surprising because people were predicting 10 gigawatts by 2015 or 20 gigawatts by 2020 or something, but we're above 50, 60, 70 gigawatts a year now installed globally. So in some ways, solar has been, and specifically photovoltaic solar has been a surprising success in the sense that every year it overachieves what it sort of what people forecast.
Guys, yeah, both.
Thanks to everyone, and thanks to Germany and but I would say one more comment about solar. When we do a long-term forecast of solar over the next 25 years, we see actually the majority of investment into power generation capacity and the majority of capacity will go into solar. Now, naturally, you need a few more megawatts of solar to generate the same amount of electricity versus some other technologies, but still the world will build more solar than any other generation capacity. What's the reason for that? One is, well, simply the cost is coming down significantly. Every year there's an experience curve where, a doubling capacity, you have a significant decrease in price and cost, thanks to new technologies, thanks to new markets and new deployment, and thanks to auctions as well. But secondly, solar is very flexible technology. You can build it on the ground in the desert, as you do in parts of India or parts of China. You can build it on rooftops to supply factories. You can have it on households. In Australia, for instance, 1 out of every 7 households in some places have rooftop solar now. So there is a lot of potential for solar in different places, and that flexibility for both individual consumers, for commercial businesses, and for utilities and generation companies is what makes it really powerful and able to spread much quicker.
Do you think also that we have the same opportunities for India?
Absolutely. So in some ways we talk about large-scale solar where you put out in the desert or in the field, but you also talk about commercial and rooftop solar. The many manufacturing companies in India now are putting rooftop solar on top of their warehouses or factories because it helps them save electricity costs and also gives them a reliable source of electricity in case the grid cuts out at some point. So there is a lot of applications, and that's what makes it really powerful.
What about Hans?
When we try to look to the future with forecasts, we must look back for the last years and compare the past forecast with the reality. The Energy Watch Group made such research. We looked for the forecast for International Energy Agency in Paris. And we found out astonishing situation. They underestimated completely the growth of renewable energies, and they overestimated the availability of fossil and nuclear resources. For example, in 2010, 6 years ago, they forecasted for 2015 a whole photovoltaic market in the world of 60 gigawatt. But we had in reality 200 gigawatt, much more than they forecasted. This shows that the conventional energy researchers except of Bloomberg and some few others, they cannot look exactly what really happened in the world. And now we make new forecasts in the renewable energy sector with the Energy Watch Group together with Lappeenranta University in Finland, the first university in the world for solar economy. They simulated some regions in the world, Northeast Asia, India with neighbor countries and others, with 100% renewable served energy sectors. All sectors, electricity, heating, cooling, industry, transport. The astonishing result is with today's technologies and the falling prices, we will achieve 100% renewable region in India with 6 euro cent per kilowatt hour.
From the industry point of view, it's of course we have to have a business case. And this is what you see, of course, in the industry, what's happening. The investors have discovered the solar business. So this is what brings us definitely also the growth. Because they see an investment, which they have an IRR or a return on investment, very stable, but all very fast. And this is very important because if they're investors, they didn't know that really a few years ago, and they say, oh, we'll see what we're going to do. But now they see that there's a big opportunities to invest and to stay into the market, the capital. And definitely also for India, you see the Standard & Poor rating for India going up, now BBB or I don't know exactly now what it is, but go up to A. So industry is growing and investors find it really attractive to come into the market. And this gives another boost. So it's not only about, it's nice to have the clean energy, but it's also a business case definitely for us as investor in technology, but also for the other investors to earn the money at the end. And with 6 cents, as you said, kilowatt hour, it is possible to earn money. And this was impossible to believe 5 years ago.
So before Pranav, you are leaving, I would like to thank you so much for organizing this panel and also for bringing the Secretary of State. Just in 3 bullet points, what are the major factors for India to become one of the global leaders in solar?
As I have already mentioned, affordable finance, number 1. Technology, number 2, that we must have technology transfer. Latest technology must come. And here I must mention our late President Dr. Kalam, himself a great scientist. He had given a roadmap as to how to achieve 50% solar cell efficiency by using carbon nanotubes, zircon, etc. So if that kind of research takes place by the international community put together, I think we have to earmark a large fund for that also and make a massive effort through ISA, and it will benefit everyone.
So I can see in the solar business, the market, whatever in China, America, or European or Indian, the money is flowing. When the money is flowing, technology is flowing, and the company is flowing. So actually they help each other. It's like, for me, it's like one market.
The world can and must learn from the European development. That's not only positive. We could show how to create a political framework that a new industry can come and can grow. And not only the industry, and that's important as well, the whole society. The most investors in Germany were small and medium companies, private people, farmers in photovoltaics, in wind power and in others. So to stimulate cooperatives, to stimulate the whole society to go to the investors is very, very important. Renewables are so successful. The people support it. The conventional utilities lose their business. And they fight. The coal industry in Germany fight extremely for their interest and influence the politicians to make laws to stop, to decline the investment into renewables. That's what the world must learn. Not only look to renewable growth, look what every time happens in the whole nation world. Come together with the utilities from coal and nuclear, lead them to the new business that they must not fear to lose the business by the whole. Cooperation is very important. And then you can learn from Europe how to avoid the faults, how to make the benefits. This would be the best.
If you look at in Europe, right, there's many European utilities now are actually starting new businesses, and you have the case of E.ON, which has basically split into two companies, with one looking at new businesses and one looking at sort of its old conventional businesses. So I think it's it is quite interesting. I think I certainly agree with your point in saying that renewable energy is changing the nature of electricity, how electricity is consumed, not only just from something that's delivered centrally from one location to another, but actually becoming something that's more distributed and also taken on by consumers as well. And we actually see this now in other parts of the world as well, where the business model of the utilities are changing as a result of some level of disruption by renewable energy. But I will argue that actually in India it is a slightly different case as well, because we are still in a situation where coal and gas, ironically, has become quite a lot cheaper, because the demand for them has fallen significantly, to the point that now coal is actually, there's an abundance of it, and there's also an abundance of gas, not only from the US, but from Australia and from other places as well. So actually we're in an area of history where all sources of energy have become cheaper and all sort of competing with each other, which makes it a very interesting situation. So in India, it is a case where while renewable energy is growing, but at the same time, coal and gas are probably growing as well as a result of a massive drive towards electrification. So I would say it is while we see sort of renewable energy outperform each other sort of every single year in terms of overperforming in terms of investment and capacity, there is also a lot of fossil fuels being added as well as a result of things becoming cheaper on that side as well.
Declining oil prices, coal, gas and uranium prices leads that a return of investment is nearly not possible. The finance industry sees this and they say, no, you will not get a credit, I will not finance you. That's a big threat for them. So they hope for rising oil prices. What will happen? The consumers say, what should I pay such expensive energy? I have cheap solar and solar wind. A double bit fall. Cheap oil price, they lose the financiers. High oil price, they lose the consumers. Both leads to bankrupt. They have no chance. But they must learn this lesson, the new situation. And all must learn this. To switch the business like E.ON does and RWE in Germany. Switch the business to renewables, otherwise you go to bankrupt.
Well, if you compare India to the other markets, definitely on a global scale, then you see that India is growing very, very, very fast. So 7 gigawatt, 9 gigawatts, probably next year 15 gigawatt, and so on, upgoing. Driven by the government, definitely. They would like to have to 50 gigawatt or even more. And they are pushing within a short time. This can be dangerous as well. Yeah, I don't want to say not only positive things, but this can be dangerous as well. But as long as professional players are taking care about that, like Talesun, like we, like other players, I think there's no big danger. Because we know we are mature. We have learned our lessons already in other markets. So we've paid already everything, our duties, and we know exactly how to handle this. So we're not going blue-eye into a country and just look and see and sell something. But if we're coming here, we wouldn't like to stay here. And this is definitely an advantage for India, so that the people who came here have really calculated everything. Is it worth to come here? Yes, it is worth, so we're going to stay here.
I think that it's true that even we have some issues, like with the lighting, even things maybe are a bit more flexible than in other countries, but this enthusiasm which we can see here, even on the show, we saw the Secretary of State so excited. I believe that India has an opportunity to play an important role in solar and cleantech revolution. And this is also thanks to you guys. Thanks for watching.